What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about my top 10 most annoying fighters inside the UFC. These are the guys that no one likes. Like, really, I look at some of these guys and I am very not happy with how they're handling situations, of what their fighting style is, and of how they're just being a little bit ignorant to the entire UFC audience in a little bit of different forms. I look at these guys as not necessarily being awful people, but genuinely just getting under the opponent's skin and getting under the fan's skin, not allowing them to enjoy the sport as much as possible. Now, this is incredibly subjective. This is just my personal opinion, but if you guys want to leave your list down below, feel more than likely to. And also, while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications, subscribe, and like I said, leave a comment. Also, follow my TikTok page at Fight Season MMA. That would help an absolute ton. But without further ado, let's jump into the video talking about the top 10 most annoying fighters inside the UFC currently. First fighter I have is Mr. Mario Bautista, and I'm going strictly off of he had one fight with Jose Aldo at UFC 307, and that single-handedly made him one of the most annoying fighters inside the UFC. Press conference, he's talking about how it's going to be a war, how it's going to be blood, and this man just didn't fight Jose Aldo the entire time. He literally just anti-fought. I don't know what to say. He just did not fight him, and he somehow eked out with the decision win, and then went on the microphone to said that he, did everything he could, and that he did this and that, and I genuinely think he was getting pieced up on the feet, and just the way he handled the entire situation was absolutely awful. I don't think Mario Bautista's a bad fighter, and I think that this is kind of a bad rap off of his last fight. If he would have went in there and said, it was not my best performance, thank you for the win, I really appreciate it, something like that, I truly think that the entire fan reception would have been different, but genuinely, Jose Aldo got robbed, and Mario Bautista took it as the greatest performance of his entire life, when truly he went in there and said that he was going, to go absolutely demolish Aldo, and he couldn't even do that in this entire fight. Mario Bautista slotting in at number 10. Now, at number 9, I'm going to go with Israel Adesanya. I am an Adesanya fan, but I do think that the entire Alex Pereira saga, the entire saga with Sean Strickland and him getting absolutely bodied there, and this entire saga with Dricus du Plessis and losing in that fight, it really looks like to me that Adesanya cannot take up a fight that has some serious implications in it and an actual good fighter. The only fighter that he's really beat with some serious emotions and feelings in it was Paulo Costa. And let's look at how Paulo Costa's career has really gone. He was undefeated at the time. He was a very good fighter at the time, but he beat Yoel Romero on the way up, who, yes, was a title challenger, but not necessarily the most, freak nature of a fighter. Sean Strickland beat Costa. All the other guys dog-walked Costa as well. Sean Strickland and Dricus, both amazing fighters. Both fights that Izzy was heavily emotionally invested in. And genuinely, he got overpowered by both of those guys. And yes, this striking, grappling, in every other department, but also in the emotional and intelligent sense, considering that Adesanya was outworked mentally in every single one of those fights. Adesanya just talks a big game of how he doesn't stand for anything, of how he was focusing on Manel Kape at the UFC 293 press conference, and Sean Strickland went out there and schooled him in that fight. It just really shows that I don't know if Israel Adesanya is ready and is kind of in that headspace to go and compete a lot more, considering that, yes, I know we had the entire fight with Alex Pereira, a fight that was possibly very hard mentally for Adesanya, considering that was someone that he lost to twice in kickboxing. But genuinely, I think Adesanya kind of plays a big game, but I don't know if he's truly about that life inside the octagon, considering when he's had the experiences. He lost to Pereira. He did beat Pereira, but not at his best form, and then lost to Strickland and Dricus after being emotionally invested in that fight heavily. Israel Adesanya at number 9. At number 8, most annoying fighter inside the UFC is Mr. Merab Dvalishvili. Merab just needs to get a grip over himself and fight Umar. I know Merab has made all these skits. He's talking about how he's the deserving champion, which he is, but Umar is the next title challenger. He can't take every little thing personally. Merab goes and fights fans in the stands. He does stand on its business, which I do think is incredible, considering that he's the UFC champion and will stand on business with any single fighter. But there's a point where Merab is taking it too far, to where he's just fighting because he likes to fight, and he's going to get in trouble for it. And I think it's something that doesn't represent the UFC well, and as Islam Makhachev said, it doesn't represent the belt well at that UFC 311 press conference. Genuinely, Merab Dvalishvili is a great fighter, but he is a little bit of a lunatic right now, because he's wanting to fight Umar. He's trying to fight him backstage. He's going to do this and all that, but he's going to put on a snooze fest of a co-main event or get knocked out by Umar Nurmagomedov in that fight. Truly, Umar is his toughest challenge, and yes, I do know Merab understands that, but I wish he would just fight Umar already and just not do it outside and just kind of wait for the actual fight to go down inside the octagon, and also not fight any fans. No matter what, you can bicker, you can argue, don't throw punches, don't do anything, don't go out of your way to acknowledge them. That is the low road to take. Now, at number 8, it is Mr. Henry Cejudo, and I think that it started with him automatically declaring a rematch with, or not a rematch, but a fight with Aljamain Sterling, which he got at UFC 288. It was a fight that, yes, I could understand considering that he was a former double champion inside the organization, but was a fight that really didn't need to happen at that time. Sean O'Malley came up and was fighting Peter Yan prior, and he ultimately deserved the title shot at that time. You had guys like Corey Sandhagen who was fighting, guys like Vera and whatnot, and ultimately, in my opinion, deserved the title shot over Henry Cejudo. And Cejudo then came back and fought Merab, tried to lock in that one, and ultimately just didn't get that job done. Kind of got steamrolled by Merab in that second and third round. But I think the thing that's really throwing me off right now is Henry Cejudo talking about Alexandre Pantoja, saying that he's going to go out there and that he deserves a title shot of how he can beat Pantoja, when in reality, Henry is not the same monster he was. Henry Cejudo is a former UFC champion. That can't be out or taken out of his book. But genuinely, Henry Cejudo isn't the type of fighter that he once was. He is a top 15, top 10 fighter, maybe even in the UFC bantamweight and flyweight division, probably top 5 in the flyweight division. He can't hold a torch to Pantoja, can't hold a torch to Merab, can't hold a torch to O'Malley, Sandhagen, anyone like that. Henry Cejudo is a very good fighter, and I wish he would just stop talking a little bit. He just constantly chirps, and I understand he is very knowledgeable. He's a very good fighter, but genuinely, Henry Cejudo just cannot stop talking about how he can beat all these former and current champions, when in reality, he just can't. At number 6, most annoying fighter inside the UFC is Chris Weidman. Why is Chris Weidman, 1, still fighting, and 2, the entire situation with Bruno Silva? Why did he tell Bruno Silva that you were weak after just finger blasting him straight in the eye and moving all of his orbitals around and genuinely saying that he was this disappointing man who couldn't compete inside the octagon? It was one of the most disgusting things I have ever seen. Him going on Ariel Helwani's show, talking about of how he went out there and dismantled Silva, when in reality, yes, he was probably winning the fight, but you can't stick your big ring finger down in someone's eye and expect him to not go to the ground crying. I do understand that he did say that, you can't expect the ref to know what's going on inside your head, and I understand, but you can't be just jamming all 4 fingers that you have on your hand, plus your thumb, if that goes in there too, inside someone's eye socket and expect to get a win, which he did, and act like it wasn't a big deal. Chris Weidman, genuinely, in his last fight, with Eric Anders, was supposed to fight at UFC 309, got moved to 310, got decimated in that fight, and he was talking about wanting to make a comeback inside the octagon, and he just looked sad in there, man. He looked crippled. He looked like he got overpowered and everything in between. Chris Weidman, I wish, talked less, especially when it came to that Bruno Silva win, because that wasn't impressive at all. I could go in there and jam my finger down someone's eye socket and get a win too, but genuinely, Chris Weidman is one of the most annoying fighters inside the UFC, coming in at number 6. Number 5 most annoying fighter inside the UFC is Sean O'Malley. And you know what's funny is I was one of the biggest Sean O'Malley stans inside the organization prior to him fighting at UFC 306 at the Sphere. I think every single fighter, and there's going to be a fighter coming on here later that is even worse than this, has to accept a loss no matter what. Sean O'Malley lost that fight. I can't tell if he's trolling. I can't tell whatever happened, but he lost rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4. He did not win rounds 1, 3, and 5. That's not how this works. Sean O'Malley, eye test by any single person inside the organization, would either say he lost all 5 rounds or lost 4, being the first 4, and he won the 5th. O'Malley needs to understand that Merab did win that fight. That could have been an off night, and that's all he has to say something. He doesn't have to make an excuse for every little thing. He could have said, I had a great camp, it was an off night for me, and leave it at that. Some guy like Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria, he didn't go out there and pout. He didn't go out there and say anything crazy, but genuinely, he didn't get the way. He didn't get the win in that fight, and Sean O'Malley ultimately was just a little bit salty about it. And I just don't like when these champions and these fighters who genuinely lost are delusional and think they won. Sean O'Malley, number 5 most annoying fighter. Number 4 most annoying fighter is Leon Rocky Edwards. And you might be thinking, why is Leon annoying? He doesn't say a word. He doesn't do anything. And I think the reason I really dislike Leon is he has let down so many people throughout his expectations of his fights. He is the biggest point fighter inside the UFC. And when you look at Leon as a complete fighter, he is one of the most technical and skilled fighters inside the organization. What does all of the top, 5, 10, 15 pound for pound fighters in there currently genuinely right now have in common. They have that killer instinct in them. Jon Jones, Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria, Alex Pereira, Bilal Muhammad, all these guys will try to go for the fight and finish it or make the fight at least exciting in there. Leon Edwards is probably the most boring fighter that we've seen. In him being champion, everyone got behind him because of that Kamaru Usman knockout, but really that was an anomaly compared to his regular style inside the organization. Leon Edwards, yes, is a very good fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's very talented, and he is 100% one of the best well-rounded fighters inside the UFC organization. But if you do not have that instinct, that killer instinct, and just make all these fights boring and make it sound like you are the greatest person on planet Earth inside the octagon, genuinely, it makes for a disappointing showing, considering that Leon has all the skills, but he's disappointed time and time again inside the octagon to all his fans. Number 3 most annoying fighter right now is Jon Jones, and that is for the simple fact that he is requesting so many demands from the UFC to get this fight with Tom Aspinall. I understand that this is a very risky fight for Jon Jones. I understand him requesting a little bit of money, but every single stipulation under Jon Jones's hand, and Tom Aspinall is actually willing to do it like that, is absolutely crazy. He's requesting $30 million from the UFC. He's requesting where the fight wants to be and everything in between. At this point, Jon Jones should really just ask for the fight to have no gloves on or something and have Tom Aspinall blindfolded. I don't know, but genuinely, really, Jon Jones is being super ignorant in the way that he's requesting different things in this fight, and I wish that he would just take the fight with Aspinall sometime next year, kind of don't make a big deal about it, get his normal fighter pay. I understand it's dangerous, but he is special inside the UFC organization, no doubt, but he isn't unlike any other fighter that there is. Get his normal pay, do everything in between, and Jon Jones should be rightfully, given that challenge with Tom Aspinall, considering everything going on with those two individuals, with there being a disputed champ in Jon, an undisputed or an interim champ in Aspinall, and these two really need to go out there and fight to really see who is the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. Jon Jones could resolve all this by taking this fight, but he's making it so difficult in the meantime to do so. Also, Jon Jones is the commander of the eye poke committee. He has really went out there and shown every single person why the eye poke is the newest, greatest move in MMA history. This dude is absolutely crazy out there, considering that his eye pokes are next level. He will poke any single fighter that he fights, and genuinely, it is an absolutely bad rap to see. Jon Jones is 100% the third most annoying fighter. At number 2 most annoying fighter inside the UFC, I have Jamahal Sweet Dreams Hill. Now, Jamahal Hill, in my opinion, is a great fighter. I think he's very underrated inside the UFC because I do think that Jamahal is being, underrated because of what he's saying after this Alex Pereira fight. But that's the exact reason he's also ranked here. I do understand how good he is, but I'm so disappointed that that's what Jamahal Hill has to do in order to feel, proud of himself with that fight with Pereira. He got knocked out, end of story, no in between. Jamahal Hill got absolutely slapped. His eyes rolled back into the back of his head, and that left shovel hook from Pereira scraped right across Jamahal Hill's face, ultimately sending him down to the ground. Now, Jamahal Hill saying that Herb Dean interfered, and this wasn't going well. It just is crazy to me. I understand that Jamahal Hill came out and said that he's going to beat Pereira in a rematch of how Pereira wasn't on his level that night. Well, guy, you were on your back no matter what. Like, Pereira was beating the crap out of you, and genuinely, I just don't see a situation where that it's logical in my head, and I do think that Jamahal Hill has some delusion in him, and especially recently, him going up to Alex Pereira to say that he's going to smack him and absolutely beat him one time, and when Pereira threw him the boxing gloves, he didn't put them on, was absolutely just weak stuff from Hill. Jamahal Hill is a very good fighter. Like I said, I think he's going to be in title contention very, very soon. I do think he could possibly beat Yuri Prochazka out here. But Jamahal Hill has been incredibly ignorant, especially after this Alex Pereira fight. Jamahal Hill is slotting in here at number 2 most annoying fighters inside the UFC. Number 1 most annoying fighter is Colby Covington. I don't think Colby would be annoying if his trash talk was out there, especially since that he was talking so much crap to Usman and Leon and whatnot. But as long as he backed it up, and I think that that's what's really making this frustrating for all UFC fans, is him backing it up with good fighting. That's what he was able to do in the first Usman fight. That's what he's able to do against Tyron Woodley, Robbie Lawler, Rafael Dos Anjos. That's what he was able to do But really, Colby Covington lately, especially the one that fought Leon Edwards and Joaquin Buckley, has got dominated in that field. You know, at least in the Joaquin Buckley fight, he didn't talk that much. He went out there, he did his thing, and he finally fought down a contender. And Colby's going to have to do that at this point just to keep fighting and keeping himself in the rotation. I was so surprised that Colby Covington really fought Joaquin Buckley, because Joaquin Buckley might not be known to a lot of the people, but he is a very good and talented fighter. Colby, though, just looks slow, looks old, is gonna say he won every fight. He told that he was gonna beat Joaquin Buckley in the 4th and 5th round, which wasn't gonna happen. He said that he beat Leon Edwards in that fight. Wasn't even close. You know, that Kamaru Usman fight the second time did have an argument for a tie or even a Colby win. I just didn't see it that way. But genuinely, Colby Covington has a big mouth on him. And if you could back it up like he was doing in that first Usman fight, genuinely, you can't call him annoying because he is one of the best fighters on the entire planet. When in reality, Colby Covington is delusional. And genuinely, especially now since he lost to Buckley Leon, that were some of the worst losses I have ever seen in my career. He looked immobile and like a paraplegic versus Leon, and versus Buckley, he got absolutely outclassed by the young blood. Genuinely, Colby Covington, most annoying fighter inside the UFC. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comment section about my top 10 most annoying fighters inside the organization. At number 10, I got Mario Bautista. Number 9, I have Israel Adesanya. At number 8, I have Merab Dvalishvili. At number 7, I have Henry Cejudo. At number 6, I have Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. At number 5, I have Sugar Sean O'Malley. At number 4, I have Leon Rocky Edwards. At number 3, Jon Bones Jones. 2, Jamahal Sweet Dreams Hill, and number 1, Colby Chaos Covington. I think all these guys kind of irk fans the wrong way, and I don't think it's just me. I think it's a good amount of the population. I do know that this list is kind of subjective. You got some guys on there like Leon Edwards, who's really high and definitely subjective. Israel Adesanya, who I do think is a great fighter, but sometimes, you know, just doesn't feel like he's in his own headset. But genuinely, let me know what you think about this list. If I did miss someone, please go in there and let it know. If I had to take someone off this list, it would probably be Israel Adesanya. I do think that his is more impactful than Mario Bautista, but genuinely Bautista is just still, you know, just doing his thing. But genuinely, if you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow. And while you're down there, please turn on post notifications, just so you guys can always stay updated and notified as UFC content releases. Remember, go subscribe and follow the TikTok at Fight Season MMA. That would be absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.